NetEase. From initially being recognised for its essential internet services in 1997, to expanding its services to include online gaming, e-commerce, music streaming and more, NetEase is a prominent Chinese company that has solidified its spot as a globally recognised leader in internet technology. While it's currently being praised for its efforts with Marvel rivals, it is not one without its controversies. From alleged stock manipulation, corruption investigations, to employee fraud and money laundering, let's discuss the controversies and lawsuits of NetEase. Let's get into their first major controversy. 2001, stock manipulation allegations. The US Securities and Exchange Commission filed a complaint against NetEase, accusing the company of circumventing internal accounting controls and falsifying records relating to advertising and e-commerce contracts during 2000 and 2001. In other words, are kind of committing fraud. NetEase employees were alleged to have used three main techniques to inflate revenue improperly. 1. Shifting revenue into earlier quarters by splitting advertising contracts into two. 2. Recognizing fictitious revenue from non-existent or unfulfilled advertising contracts. And 3. Recording revenue from undisclosed barter arrangements that lacked economic substance. A class action lawsuit was filed against NetEase and several of its executives, which included the founder, CEO, and former CFO. The lawsuit, filed in New York federal court, alleged violations of US federal securities law and sought damages for investors. The SEC's complaint highlighted that NetEase actions led to material overstatement of revenue for fiscal 2000 and the first quarter of 2001. The company faced significant legal and financial repercussions, including the need to restate its financial statements and defend against multiple lawsuits. As a consequence of this, NetEase faced a temporary suspension of stock trading on the Nasdaq. The suspension was announced in July 2001, with the potential for delisting if the company failed to file its annual report on time. Now, NetEase successfully appealed the Nasdaq's decision to delist its shares, with trading resuming on July 2, 2002. This brings us on to our next controversy. In 2008, the Blizzard partnership issues, termination, and lawsuit. In 2008, NetEase began operating the Chinese versions of Blizzard Entertainment games, including popular titles like World of Warcraft and StarCraft 2. Now, issues arose when NetEase faced delays in launching new content and expansion for Blizzard's games in China. These delays were often due to stringent approval process required by Chinese regulators, which sometimes caused frustration amongst players who had to wait longer than their international counterparts. There were also complaints about server stability and performance. Players experienced frequent server outages, lag, and other technical issues that affected their gaming experience. These problems were particularly notable during peak times and major in-game events, leading to dissatisfaction among the player base. These early issues contributed to ongoing tensions between NetEase and Blizzard, which eventually culminated in the termination of their partnership in January 2023. From this, it led to NetEase filing a lawsuit against Blizzard Entertainment in a Shanghai court, demanding 300 million yuan in compensation. The lawsuit stemmed from Blizzard's decision to suspend its online gaming services, which NetEase argued caused significant financial and reputation damage. NetEase sought compensation for refunds to local players, unsold gaming-related merchandise, and payments related to undeveloped games. Blizzard Entertainment stated that it was not at fault and that the terms NetEase was complaining about reflected standard industry practices. Blizzard expressed confidence that it was not in breach of any licensing agreements. However, despite the lawsuit, Blizzard emphasized its commitment to serving players and protecting their interests. In August 2024, NetEase secured a preliminary legal victory against Blizzard Entertainment in their lawsuit over software copyright licensing agreements. However, while NetEase was the one to launch this lawsuit against Blizzard, in this next situation, it's actually the other way around. In 2022, the Riot Games lawsuit. Riot Games alleged that NetEase Hyperfront was a substantial copy of Valorant. The lawsuit claimed that Hyperfront cloned various elements from Valorant, including weapon stats, characters, maps, and overall gameplay mechanics. Riot argued that minor modifications, like changing the color of a character's ability, did not negate the fact that it was a copy. Riot Games filed lawsuits in multiple jurisdictions, including the UK, Germany, Brazil, and Singapore, seeking to address the alleged copyright infringement on a global scale. NetEase, they did make some modifications to Hyperfront after being alerted to the copying claims, but Riot Games maintained that these changes were insufficient to address the core issues of the copyright infringement. Following the lawsuit, NetEase announced that it would shut down the servers for Hyperfront on April 10, 2023, and this decision was likely influenced by the ongoing legal battles and the need to comply with the court's rulings. It was a busy year in 2022 for NetEase because we have another battle between them and a Minecraft clone. So in 2022, Minecraft versus Miniplay infringement litigation. Now, NetEase actually had the exclusive right to operate Minecraft in China since 2016, and the lawsuit was against Shenzhen Miniplay Company, which developed a game called Mini World that was very similar to Minecraft. NetEase accused Shenzhen Miniplay Company of unfair competition, alleging that Miniworld plagiarized multiple core elements of Minecraft. The allegations included that the overall screens of the two games were highly similar, which constituted copyright infringement and unfair competition. On November 30, 2022, the Guangdong High People's Court upheld the initial ruling, awarding NetEase 50 million... What is RMB? I don't know what that is. What is RMB? Awarding NetEase 50 million RMB. Now, as a side note, RMB and the yuan, they're kind of interchangeable, so it's the same currency, and this also led to an injunction against the Shenzhen Miniplay Company. Moving on to 2023, this is the big one, the anti-corruption investigation. In 2023, NetEase conducted an internal anti-corruption investigation to address allegations of bribery and money laundering within the company. The investigation led to the dismissal of 9 employees, including senior managers. Notable figures dismissed include Zhang Lang, the head of overseas publishing, and Jinyu Shen, the marketing director at NetEase. The dismissed employees were accused of engaging in bribery and money laundering activities. The investigation revealed that these activities involved as many as 28 suppliers connected to NetEase, with the case estimated to be worth roughly 1 billion yuan. Following the internal investigation, NetEase referred the case to the police for further investigation. Several employees were arrested as part of this process. In response to the findings, NetEase reinforced their compliance protocols, and the company issued internal memos to remind employees of its anti-corruption policies and the importance of adhering to ethical standards. So I guess that's all wrapped up in a neat little package. But now we move on to the biggest controversy of them all, by far, 2025. They're being accused of using engagement optimized matchmaking. So I've gone over this a lot, and by all means, you can go watch my other video on engagement optimized matchmaking, but as a summary, it's a matchmaking strategy designed to maximize player engagement by adjusting match outcomes to keep players invested. Now, NetEase has been accused of using engagement optimized matchmaking in some of its games, such as its most recent creation, Marvel Rivals. It is strongly implied that the engagement optimized matchmaking artificially adjusts matchmaking to counter win or loss records. They've also added bots during quick play. Now I have to say alleged because it's not proven, but I think this clip will put my bias into perspective. It's suggested that they put in these bot games when people were playing and losing too many games in a row, and a lot of people have actually called for their complete removal, or at least an option to turn them off. I don't necessarily have a problem with bots being in the game, but I think it needs to be really clear for when they're being used, just for full transparency. Through all these controversies, lawsuits, and the engagement optimized matchmaking, NetEase I don't think are going to go anywhere anytime soon, and I guess we'll just have to see what the future holds. So until the next one, enjoy your day.